It started in a dusty garage, with two friends and a dream. The heat was unbearable in the summers. The single pedestal fan groaned louder than the laptop fans. The internet was unreliable, and so was the power. But none of that mattered to Ravi and Aman. To them, that garage was more than a workspace. It was a launch pad. Their world. Ravi was the thinker. The kind of guy who'd lose sleep over a single line of code not running right. He was quiet, methodical. The kind who listened more than he spoke. He saw patterns in problems, elegance in logic. Aman, on the other hand, was the fire. Loud, ambitious, charismatic. He could pitch a ketchup popsicle to someone wearing white gloves. Where Ravi built the engine, Aman made it look like a rocket. They met in school over a spilled lunchbox and a shared dislike for bullies. Over time, coding contests and late-night hackathons cemented their bond. They weren't just classmates. They became brothers. The kind of bond that didn't need words. The kind that wasn't supposed to break. In college, while others were figuring out which bar had happy hour, they were busy figuring out how to optimize delivery algorithms. Together, they came up with Flashcart, a hyperlocal delivery app that promised to connect small businesses and kirana stores to nearby customers in under 30 minutes. At the time, it seemed laughably ambitious. But they didn't care. They had passion. They had purpose. And they had each other. Ravi locked himself away in the garage, crafting a sleek back-end infrastructure. He taught himself new frameworks, experimented with APIs, and even learned UI design, so their prototype didn't look like a school project. Aman, meanwhile, roamed the city, meeting shopkeepers, convincing beta users, printing flyers, and cold emailing potential investors. He had a way with people. They said no, but at least they listened. There were nights they had to choose between electricity, for the fan, or food. They always chose electricity. Maggie didn't need much heat, and the code needed to compile. Flashcart's first customer was a small medical shop in Carroll Bog. The owner agreed only after Aman offered to handle deliveries himself for free during the first week. Ravi watched from the garage as Aman sped away on his ancient Activa, a Flashcart sticker slapped proudly on the back. They got 5 orders that first week, then 10, then 50. What started as a side hustle now felt like the start of something real. They hustled all day and debugged all night. They tracked every delivery with a spreadsheet and followed up with customers personally to ask how it went. Ravi even built a predictive delivery route feature that saved riders time, something that even the big players hadn't cracked yet. One evening, as the monsoon pounded against the rusted garage door, they sat on the floor, drenched, exhausted, and sharing a single bowl of Maggie cooked over a coil heater. Ravi looked up, eyes glinting behind fogged-up glasses. "One day," he whispered, "we'll look back at this garage and laugh." Aman smiled, poking at the noodles. "We'll laugh from our penthouse." But even as he grinned, something shifted in Aman. Ravi didn't notice it then, but that smile? It wasn't joy. It was calculation, a seed of ambition, a future where one of them might no longer be needed. As traction grew, they began pitching to small investors. A few showed interest. One wanted more equity than sense. Another asked them to come back when you're profitable. Rejections didn't hurt as much as being underestimated. But they didn't give up. Ravi started working on Flashcart 2.0, an improved version with better location tracking and vendor dashboards. Aman, meanwhile, started dressing sharper, talking bigger, even hanging out with startup folks Ravi didn't know. Networking, he'd say. Then came the investor meeting that changed everything. A small VC firm from Bengaluru offered 35 Indian rupees lakhs in seed funding. It wasn't much, but to them, it was gold. A real shot. Aman handled the negotiations. Ravi trusted him blindly. The term sheet arrived. Ravi was shocked to see his name missing as a co-founder. He confronted Aman. "There must be a mistake." Aman looked at him, eyes cold. "I did what's best for the company. Investors only want one founder on paper for now. It's cleaner. But we built this together. Look, you're the tech guy. That doesn't change. But business is war, and I'm leading it." Ravi felt like the ground had vanished beneath him. All those years, all those nights, and he was being sidelined. He walked out of the garage, heart pounding. That night, Aman changed the server passwords. Ravi was locked out of his own code. Flashcard launched officially the next month, with only Aman's face in the media, Aman's name on the paperwork, and Aman's voice in the interviews. Ravi's inbox was silent. He watched as their dream, his dream, became someone else's product. But betrayal does something strange to a person. It either breaks them, or it builds them. Success changes people. Sometimes it brings out the best in them. Other times, it exposes the worst. Flashcard was growing fast. From a garage-built prototype to a functioning delivery platform gaining traction across 3 cities. Small shops were signing up. Orders were coming in. Local investors were starting to notice. Ravi and Aman had created something real, something promising. But with that growth came pressure, deadlines, investor expectations, and long hours that blurred days into nights. And somewhere in that chaos, Aman started changing. It was subtle at first. Private calls and hushed corners. Investor meetings that Ravi wasn't invited to. Budget decisions made without him. "It's just easier if I handle this part, bro," Aman would say casually, brushing it off like nothing was wrong. Then came the request that didn't feel like a request at all. "We should split our roles more formally," Aman said one night as they shared chai on the office terrace. "You take care of the product. I'll handle strategy, finance, operations, outreach." Ravi blinked. "That's everything, Aman. You don't enjoy the business side anyway, right?" Aman replied, laughing it off. "We're just playing to our strengths." But Ravi wasn't laughing. A cold wind blew through the cracks in their partnership that night. Still, Ravi tried to believe. Tried to trust the bond that had been built since 8th grade. Through exams, heartbreaks, hostile nights, and garage coding marathons. They were brothers, weren't they? That illusion shattered one Monday morning. Ravi walked into the flashcard office, humming like always, ready for another 14-hour grind. But something was wrong. His laptop wouldn't log in. Password incorrect. He tried again, and again. No access. So he opened his Gmail. Access revoked. He reached for the admin dashboard. It was gone. Slack. Blocked. Company GitHub? Empty. At first, he thought it was a tech glitch, some back-end issue, until his phone rang. An investor, a man they had pitched to just 2 weeks ago. "We just heard about the restructuring," the man said. "We're still deciding if we'll continue backing Aman solo." Ravi froze. "Wait, restructuring? What are you talking about?" The investor sounded confused. "Didn't Aman tell you? He's continuing as the sole founder now." The word sliced through Ravi like a cold knife. "Sole founder." "Yes. Aman said you've exited voluntarily, that you weren't aligned with the vision." Voluntarily? Ravi couldn't breathe. He rushed to Aman's cabin. Empty. His desk. Cleared. The chair where they once planned their future vacant. His mind screamed for answers. He dialed Aman's number. Straight to voicemail. He texted. No reply. Messaged on WhatsApp. Left on read. Hours passed. Still nothing. And then, finally, one message buzzed through. "Aman, you're not business-minded, bro. I had to do what's best for Flashcard." That was it. No apology. No explanation. No remorse. Just a sentence. Ravi stared at those words for hours. Reread them 100 times. As if there was some hidden code in them. Something that would make sense of this betrayal. Something that would prove it was just a nightmare. But the truth was cold, clear, and final. He had been cut out. Stabbed in the back by the person he trusted most. No contract protected him. No equity. No vesting agreement. They had been friends. Brothers. Who needed paperwork? Now Aman had it all. The code, the platform, the branding, the office, the investors. And Ravi. He had nothing. No shares. No credit. No app. No friend. He walked out of that office like a ghost. Past the walls they'd painted together. Past the desk where they once ate Maggie and wrote code till 3 a.m. Past the whiteboard where their roadmap still had his handwriting. It felt like dying slowly while being fully awake. He locked himself in his tiny flat. Didn't eat. Didn't sleep. Just sat there with a screen that showed nothing but error messages. He thought about deleting everything. erasing every file, every memory. But then he saw a picture on his wall, a cheap printout they had once taped up for motivation. It was a photo of their old garage. Underneath, scribbled in Ravi's handwriting, "We'll look back at this garage and smile one day." His chest tightened, and then he whispered, as if answering his past self, "I'm still smiling. But not because I forgive you, because I'll rise from this, and you'll watch." Anger burned into determination. Betrayal is a wound, but it's also a forge. Over the next few weeks, Ravi disappeared from the tech scene. No one knew what he was doing, but while the world thought he was licking his wounds, he was building quietly. He studied, watched, reached out to other betrayed co-founders, read stories of founders who were forced out and came back stronger. He didn't want revenge. He wanted redemption. But in his heart, one sentence burned like fire. "I had to do what's best for Flashcard." Someday he would return, not to take Flashcard back, but to build something bigger, something better, something so undeniable even Aman would have to whisper. He was the real deal. And this time, Ravi wouldn't share it with anyone who hadn't earned it. Ravi disappeared from social media. The world may have thought he vanished, but in truth, he had simply gone underground, into builder mode, into focus. He packed up his life in Bengaluru after the betrayal, leaving behind the apartment he once shared with Aman, the whiteboard scrawled with dreams, the office they built out of sweat and struggle. Now he was heading to Indore, to a one-bedroom flat owned by his cousin. No co-founders, no seed money, just his laptop, a backpack, and a bruised heart that wasn't ready to give up yet. By day, he worked at a local call center. The job paid little, but it was just enough to cover food and rent. He answered complaints in 3 languages, switching tones for angry customers, always calm, always collected. But at night, Ravi came alive. From 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., he coded. The dull blue light of his screen lit up the small bedroom like a fire of purpose. But this time, it wasn't Flashcard 2.0. That chapter was closed. This was something new, something personal. Karmacart. The name wasn't just catchy, it was intentional. Ravi wanted to create something rooted in justice. Flashcard had chased vanity metrics and scale. Karmacart, on the other hand, was designed for impact. It focused on helping small vendors, vegetable hawkers, kirana shop owners, tailors, manage their deliveries more efficiently, digitize their inventory, and track customer preferences. And most importantly, the entire app operated in multiple Indian languages, making it accessible for those who had always been excluded from tech. He didn't have the funds for flashy ads or influencer campaigns. So he started small. He went out every Sunday morning, walking the bazaars, speaking directly to shopkeepers. He showed them his prototype. He asked for feedback. He fixed bugs the same night. Word began to spread, not online, but through chai shop gossip and WhatsApp forwards. A panwala told a chemist. The chemist told a cloth vendor. And slowly, Karmacart began to grow. After 6 months, he onboarded his 500th vendor. By the 9th month, that number was over 10,000. The playbook was simple. Listen, iterate, repeat. Ravi still wasn't on social media. He didn't want praise. He wanted peace. He remembered what it felt like to be betrayed by someone he called brother. He wasn't bitter, just wiser. His energy now went entirely into the product. By the end of the first year, Karmacart hit 100K users. No funding, no co-founder, just clean code and community trust. That's when a small startup magazine published a story titled, "The Silent Founder Returns." The article went semi-viral in business circles, not for drama, but for the quiet brilliance of Ravi's comeback. It talked about how the original brains behind Flashcard had quietly built a better product from scratch. It had screenshots, testimonials, and subtle hints at the betrayal. Meanwhile, Flashcard wasn't doing so well. Under Aman's solo leadership, the company began showing cracks. Updates were delayed. Vendors complained about rising commission fees. User complaints piled up. Aman, now flush with investor cash, was too busy throwing beach parties in Goa and posting cryptic tweets about hustle culture. The team that once admired his charisma now saw through it. Several employees left. A few joined Karmakart quietly. And then came the moment Ravi never expected. His old investor, the same one who chose Aman over him, called. "Ravi, I saw the article. Can we talk?" Ravi stared at the message for a long time. His fingers hovered over the keyboard. For a moment, the pain of the past threatened to return. The investor had once dismissed him as a technical guy with no leadership qualities. But now, Ravi replied, "Sure, let's talk tomorrow." The next evening, they met over Zoom. The investor didn't waste time. "You've built something remarkable. Karmakart is doing what Flashcart never could. Vendors love it. The retention rate is insane. Look, I was wrong before. I judged based on pitch decks, not on resilience. I'd like to come on board. Maybe lead your seed round." Ravi smiled, not out of revenge, but resolution. "Thank you, but I'll only accept if the terms protect the vendors, not just the margins." That was Ravi now. Not just a coder, a leader. Soon, Karmakart raised 3 Indian rupees crores in seed funding from 3 angel investors. But Ravi didn't move into a fancy office. He upgraded his cousin's flat into a workspace for 4 new hires. Every rupee was spent on product, people, and purpose. And when Karmakart crossed 1 million users 6 months later, the media began hailing it as India's most ethical logistics platform. One blog asked, "Was Karmakart born from revenge?" Ravi's reply, "No, Karmakart wasn't built to settle the score. It was built so people like me never lose again because of someone else's ego." The meeting felt like a scene straight out of a movie. Ravi sat in a sleek, sunlit conference room on the 19th floor of a glass building in Mumbai's financial district. The room buzzed with energy, polished marble floors, touchscreen panels, espresso machines humming in the background. But Ravi's focus wasn't on any of that. Across from him sat Mr. Bardwaj, the very same investor who, 2 years earlier, had rejected him in favor of his best friend Aman. The same man who once said, "You're the tech guy, not the face of a company." And now, the same man who was holding a folder with Karmakart's growth numbers and silently doing the math. The numbers spoke louder than any pitch deck ever could. Karmakart had quietly grown into a monster. Retention rate, 89%. Vendor satisfaction, 92%. Monthly active users, doubling every quarter. And revenue. Let's just say they'd crossed 12 Indian rupees crores last month alone, all bootstrapped. Bardwaj cleared his throat. "We believe a strategic merger would benefit both parties. Flashcart's user base is strong, but Karmakart's logistics model is far more stable. If you agree, we propose a full integration, with you as the CEO. Aman will step down and exit the venture." It was poetic. The betrayal, the rebuild, the revenge, gift wrapped in a contract. Ravi leaned back and smiled, not arrogantly, but like someone who had climbed out of a pit and built his own staircase. "I'm flattered," he said calmly. "But I didn't build Karmakart to settle a score. I built it because I knew I could solve real problems. I'm not here to undo what he did. I'm here to do what I was always meant to do." He stood up, gently pushed the folder back across the table, and added, "If I win, it won't be through a revenge deal. It'll be through code, customer trust, and conviction." The room went silent. Bardwaj blinked, unsure how to respond. Nobody said no to him, but Ravi just did. Instead of merging, Ravi went all in on his mission. He expanded Karmakart's offerings beyond deliveries. He struck deals with regional Kirana networks in Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, and Gujarat, empowering mom-and-pop stores to digitize their inventory systems using simple interfaces that didn't need English. He launched a grassroots logistics program that trained unemployed youth in Tier 3 cities, teaching them how to manage deliveries, track shipments, and offer last-mile customer service. The impact wasn't just numbers anymore. It was lives changed. At a distribution center in Patna, a 22-year-old once jobless dropout now managed a fleet of 40 scooters, delivering orders placed through Karmakart. In a dusty town in Rajasthan, a widow who ran a small provision store saw her income triple after switching to the Karmakart vendor model. These stories began surfacing everywhere, on LinkedIn, in regional papers, and eventually in national media. Flashcart, meanwhile, was bleeding. Aman had taken on too much venture funding too fast, trying to scale aggressively without fixing operational leaks. Their model favored appearance over functionality. Warehouses were poorly managed, customer complaints piled up, and the core product became a mess of unnecessary features. As the market grew more competitive, Flashcart's flaws grew more visible. Within 8 months of Ravi's meeting with Bhardwaj, over 60% of Flashcart's former vendors and logistics partners had migrated to Karmacart. Word had spread. Karmacart delivers what it promises. The irony: Aman had built Flashcart with Ravi's stolen code and vision. Now Ravi was burying it with his newer, sharper version of the same dream. And then one evening, as Ravi was finishing a partner call in his modest, plant-filled office, he saw a notification pop up on his laptop. It was from Aman. A simple message. No subject. No emojis. "Hey, let's reconnect sometime. Just talk." Ravi stared at it for a long time. He thought of the dusty garage where it all began, of the nights they coded side by side, sharing chai and dreams, of the pitched decks, the broken laptops, the cold rejections, and then of the lie, of how Aman had gone behind his back, pitched their app solo, and scrubbed Ravi's name from the story. It wasn't anger that filled him. It was something quieter, something heavier. Closure. He hovered over the reply button, then shut the laptop. Some lessons don't need conversations, just results. Ravi walked into the next room, where his team of product managers, engineers, and support staff were brainstorming a new logistics feature. He joined in, laughing, scribbling ideas, guiding strategy. There was no need to look back anymore. The future was right in front of him, and it had his name on it. He didn't need a merger. He didn't need revenge. He had something far more powerful. A purpose that couldn't be stolen, and a legacy built not on betrayal, but on belief. And so, as the sun dipped below the skyline, casting golden streaks across the Karmacart office glass, Ravi didn't just feel like he had won. He knew it. Today, Karmacart powers over 12,000 vendors across India. From mom-and-pop kirana stores in remote villages to small garment factories in urban slums, Ravi's platform has quietly become the backbone of thousands of local economies. Orders are fulfilled faster, inventory is tracked smarter, and middlemen, who once drained profits from small sellers, are now obsolete. But if you visited Ravi's office in Bangalore, you wouldn't find marble floors or glass towers. You'd find a modest 3-story building with mismatched tiles, a handwritten sign that reads Karmacart HQ, and a bicycle rack that's almost always full. And Ravi, you'll spot him in a plain cotton shirt, sipping chai in a corner with his product team, sleeves rolled up, sketching flowcharts on a whiteboard. Yes, he's a millionaire on paper. Venture capital firms have valued Karmacart at over 120 Indian rupees crores. But he still lives in a quiet 2 BHK flat with his mother. No luxury cars, no rooftop parties, no viral podcasts, just discipline, gratitude, and purpose. You see, Ravi isn't driven by revenge anymore. He's driven by impact. But he hasn't forgotten the pain. At least once a week, young founders, especially those recovering from betrayal, come to meet him. They sit across the table, nervous and broken, and ask him, "How did you get through it?" And every time, Ravi says the same thing. Don't waste energy proving them wrong. Build something that makes them irrelevant. That mindset has shaped everything Karmacart does. He intentionally hires from Tier 2 colleges and small towns, especially candidates who were told they're not cut out for startups. He believes the best talent often hides behind the quietest resumes. In fact, one of his top engineers today, she was rejected by Aman's company twice. Another team member used to be a roadside phone recharge agent. Today, he leads customer experience for an app that serves over 2 million monthly users. Ravi doesn't believe in hype. He believes in hunger. Every few months, he visits colleges and bootstrapped incubators to speak, not about code or scaling, but about emotional resilience. His most popular session is called Build, Break, Rebuild. It's less of a lecture, more of a story. He starts with the garage, the dream, the betrayal, And then he shows a photo of his old co-founder's LinkedIn page, with the name Flashcart still sitting under founder. Then he clicks to the next slide. Karmacart's real-time vendor dashboard lighting up like Diwali. The audience always goes silent, but it's not about showing off. It's about showing students, dreamers, and underdogs that you don't have to beg to belong, that you don't have to shout to be heard. You just have to keep building. Outside his office door hangs a small black frame. Inside, 2 simple lines are printed on a plain white sheet. They said I wasn't business-minded. Now I build businesses for others. No logo, no design, just words. But every employee who walks and reads them like scripture. Because everyone at Karmacart knows, this company wasn't just built with strategy. It was built with scars. But Ravi doesn't carry bitterness. When asked in a business magazine interview what he'd say to Aman if they ever met again, Ravi didn't hesitate. He smiled and said, "Thank you. If you hadn't pushed me out, I'd never have stepped up." Because that's the truth no one talks about. Sometimes, the worst thing someone does to you becomes the best thing for you. If Aman hadn't stolen the pitch deck, betrayed the partnership, and kicked him out of his own idea, Ravi might have stayed stuck in a startup that would have never evolved. Flashcart was a product. Karmacart became a purpose. And perhaps that's the real definition of karma. It doesn't seek revenge. It seeks redirection. Today, Ravi invests in early-stage startups founded by underdogs. One of them was started by 2 brothers who were rejected because of their poor English. Another by a woman who was told she's too emotional to run a business. To each of them, Ravi simply says, "You're not the misfit. You're the mold breaker." At home, Ravi's mother still cooks for him. He calls her his COO, Chief Optimism Officer. She was the one who stood by him when he couldn't afford rent, when he cried silently after Aman's betrayal, when he almost gave up. One rainy evening, she found him ripping apart the old flashcard brochures and whispering, "It was all for nothing." She didn't say much, just handed him a towel and said, "If he stole your idea, maybe you're the idea." That night, Karmacart was born, not on paper, but in his soul. And now, the dream that started in a dusty garage has built warehouses, apps, employment, and dignity for thousands. Ravi never wanted revenge. He wanted justice. But what he built was bigger than both. He built value. In the tech world, stories like these get buried under headlines of unicorns and funding rounds. But ask the chaiwala outside Karmacart's office. Ask the warehouse vendor in Indore. Ask the college dropout now managing engineering sprints. They'll all tell you the same thing. This isn't a startup. It's a second chance. And that's why Ravi doesn't wear suits or attend glitzy founder meetups. He doesn't chase magazine covers. He still walks to work when he can, listens more than he talks, and writes in the same notebook he once used in that garage. Only now, the pages are filled with dreams for others. Because once upon a time, someone stole his dream. So now, he builds dreams no one can steal.